Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be working on Anthem Chapter 5 and 6 reading check. So today you're going to read chapters 5 and 6 of Anthem, and as always, answer questions based on the text. You're also going to make predictions about character reactions based on events that happen in today's assignment and what you already know. And we're going to examine the idea of how sight creates identity and how this might affect equality, seeing himself for the first time. So if you are asked to describe yourself, all right, how would you describe yourself? So if you're watching this at home, I want you to stop for a second. I want you to look in the mirror or open the camera on your phone or whatever. Take a good look at your face and then, kind of think about what are the things that you would say to describe yourself. What types of things do you tend to focus on? So if I were going to describe myself, my example would be I have long red hair with bangs, blue eyes, freckles, round face, nice big smile, You might tend to focus on just your appearance. But if you've never seen your face in your life, how do you think it would change your perception of yourself, of who you are? Would it change the way you describe yourself? Would you tend to focus more on personality traits rather than physical traits? All right, if you're in class, we'll try this out. But if you're at home, just take a minute and kind of stop and, examine this and see how would you describe yourself if you had to tell someone about you. So we're going to watch this clip from the Rachel Ray show. And in this clip, this man suffers from a disease called Stargardt's disease, which I'll explain a little bit to you. And he gets to see his wife and son for the first time in his life. He married this woman. He had no idea what she looked like. Didn't matter to him. He loved her. He loved her personality. They have this son together. So watch how this cool, science fiction-like technology, it's like something almost out of X-Men, would allow him to see them for the first time.
Hello, everybody. My name is Gene Purdy. I live in Denver, Colorado with my beautiful wife, Joy, our 1-year-old son, Lincoln, and I suffer from Stargardt's disease. Stargardt's is an eye disease that affects the retina, and it makes the central vision go blurry so that it's really difficult to see features, faces, reading anything. It's a challenge.
When we actually met, he kept walking by. I'm even trying to get his attention, and he keeps walking past me. And so the next time I saw him, it's like, what's your deal? He told me that he was blind. And so I was like, okay, well, you can come sit with me.
Lincoln, when are you going to start helping Daddy cook? I still try to do a lot of things, like cooking, even though that's a challenge to read the recipes. It's still something I love to do.
Oh, he's about 1,000,000 times better than I am. What takes him 30 minutes would probably take me 2 hours. One morning, I turned on the Rachel Ray show, and she said that they're going to help someone with Stargardt's disease.
Yes, lovely woman is Naja.
She was going to help someone see who hasn't seen in 5 years.
He says a pair of electronic glasses. He uses a camera to capture an image, a computer to enhance that image, and then it puts it on little screens. And the effect is you're able to see much more of the world around them.
I always watched him so closely so that she could see her sister's smile for the first time in however many years. That was probably the most exciting day of my life. This is the letter that I wrote to Rachel Ray show. I would love to share a little bit about my husband's eyesight. I was told that he was born with Stargardt's disease, but it was not until he was almost 16 years old that they were able to diagnose it. My husband has come to terms with this condition and constantly being told that there is no cure and nothing that anyone can do to improve his eyesight. Although I heard Rachel Ray say that they were going to help someone see, I still did not believe it because we've always been told no. I literally began shaking and crying for the next hour or more at the thought of my husband being able to see my face for the first time, to see our son for the first time.
I'm very excited about this. I don't think there's words for the moment that I first see my family. Did you go to hug? Yeah.
I have a feeling in a few minutes none of us will be able to see because we're going to have tears of joy bursting out of our eyes. But what a beautiful family this is. Jean and Joy and Lincoln. Lincoln's so handsome. And this wonderful man is from Eastside. He's Taylor. He's the man you saw in the other piece. Are you so excited, Jean?
I am. I really am.
You know what I love about watching Jean's story in that piece is how full of life. You have not let this limit you or bum you out. You are cooking. You're kicking her butt in the kitchen. You know, you struggle so hard to read and embrace the sight that you do have. I just love that about you. It's such a great human being.
Thank you.
Great human being. You must be excited.
I'm so excited. Yeah.
I mean, you can't even put it into words, right?
No, I've been 15 years now, 16 years, I've been hopeful that somebody someday would have something that would help. And
Well, we're hoping that Taylor's the man with the plan.
yeah.
Joy, don't cry. You look so gorgeous. Okay. Wait, let me get the baby here. Come on. You go, Rick. Hey, go, Rick. Oh, you're clapping. You're clapping for Dad. Clapping for Dad. Okay. Explain briefly once more for us how this technology works to help someone in this situation.
Sure. So what it does, it uses the camera, it captures the video, runs it through a computer, and makes a whole bunch of different adjustments to every pixel of that image, and then puts it on high-definition screens. The resulting video basically is customized so this one with low vision gets more out of the sight they have remaining, and it should take them back to where it's what we call typical eyesight.
That's amazing. Is that not amazing? It's just so amazing. The technology has come so far in such a short amount of time. Okay, so let's give it a shot.
So here's take cross off. And then there's
Yeah, Lane.
line.
You excited, buddy? Ooh, I'll help.
Thanks.
There you go. You got it on there?
Yes.
Okay, now how does this work? Come on,
Well,
everybody.
Gina, what are you able to see?
But she's pretty.
Oh, she's so funny. And how handsome is your son?
Wow. And I can see the whole face at one time. Like usually
You just get little pieces of a puzzle.
Yeah, I just piece the details together and remember for next time.
Oh, don't cry, you so pretty. How do you feel, buddy?
It's
It's good, right?
Yeah.
So we're all crying now. We're gonna freak the baby out. So Joy, how you feeling? Isn't this great? Fantastic. Look, oh, Lincoln's laughing. So you really can see what we're seeing. You can see your whole face. It's amazing.
I can see faces in the audience too. But I
Everybody,
really have faces. I just gotta see them. I went to
hey, buddy. Hey, what's up? Check this, my big head.
looking for my parents.
Where's your folks? Where are they? Here they are.
But,
Come on up here. Come here. Come over there. Come on up here. You can bring the whole family up here.
I'm a good thing that they're not all here, but
Come on over, Mom and Dad. So, you get in there so you can get a good look at you. You get in there so your son can get a good look at you. We want to thank Taylor so much, and we really want to thank Eastside because they are gifting you $15,000 glasses to Jean and her family. I cannot wait to see the video of Jean in his kitchen with those glasses. I have a feeling he's going to be the one that's cooking up Thanksgiving dinner this year.
absolutely.
So here's some food for thought after watching that video and seeing how much it meant to that man and his family, for him to be able to see them and for him just to be able to look at his wife and his son for the first time, is how much of your identity is created by your vision and who we see and how much is created in our mind of who we are. So think about this today when we read chapter 5 and 6. Equality finally sees himself for the first time in his life. How do you think that will affect him? How do you think he will react? Where has his sense of identity come from up until this point? And think about that. Has his identity come from himself, or has his identity come from his society? So that's something to think about as well. So now we're going to read through chapter 5 and 6. Chapter 5. We made it. We created it. We brought it forth from the night of the ages. We alone. Our hands, our minds, ours alone and only. We know not what we are saying. Our head is reeling, and we look upon the light which we have made. We shall be forgiven for anything we say tonight. Tonight, after more days and trials than we can count, we finished building a strange thing. From the remains of the unmentionable times, a box of glass, devised to give forth the power of the sky of greater strength than we had ever achieved before. And when we put our wires to the box, when we closed the current, the wire glowed. It came to life, it turned red, and a circle of light lay on the stones before us. We stood, and we held our head in our hands. We could not conceive of that which we had created. We had touched no flint, made no fire, yet here was light, light that came from nowhere, light from the heart of metal. So equality is essentially rediscovering electricity and recreating a light bulb of sorts, using the same type of apparatus that he had found in his tunnel. We blew out the candle. Darkness swallowed us. There was nothing left around us, nothing save night, and a thin thread of flame in it. As a crack in the wall of a prison, we stretched our hands to the wire, and we saw our fingers in the red glow. We could not see our body nor feel it, and in that moment nothing existed save our two hands over a wire glowing in a black abyss. Then we thought of the meaning of which lay before us. We can light our tunnel, and the city and all the cities of the world with nothing save metal and wires. We can give our brothers a new light, cleaner and brighter than they have ever known. The power of the sky can be made to do men's bidding. There are no limits to its secrets and its might, and it can be made to grant us anything if we but choose to ask. So he doesn't just want to keep this selfishly to himself. He wants to share his discovery with his society so that they may benefit from it as well. Even though he is doing things alone, he is still thinking in a group-minded way. But we have to think about how will they handle this. All right, and that's something you should be thinking about as we're reading into the next section. Then we knew what we must do. Our discovery is too great for us to waste our time in sweeping the streets. We must not keep our secrets to ourselves, not buried under the ground. We must bring it into the sight of all men. We need all our time. We need the workrooms of the House of the Scholars. We want the help of our brother scholars, and their wisdom joined to ours. There is so much work ahead for all of us and for all of the scholars of the world. In a month, the World Council of Scholars is to meet in our city. It is a great council, to which the wisest of all lands are elected, and it meets once a year in the different cities of the earth. We shall go to this council, and we shall lay before them as our gift this glass box with the power of the sky. We shall confess everything to them, and they will see, understand, and forgive. For our gift is greater than our transgression. They will explain it to the Council of the Vocations, and we shall be assigned to the home of the scholars. This has never been done before, but neither has a gift such as ours ever been offered to men. So he wants to go public with his invention, pretty much banking on the fact that they're going to forgive him, and they're going to reassign him and make him a scholar. So here's the point where you have to stop and think, do you think they will do that based on what we know of his society so far? Or do you think they will find fault and punishment in what he is doing? How do you think this is going to proceed? All right, stop and try to make a prediction, and then later when you're reading, see if your prediction comes true. We must wait. We must guard our tunnel as we have never guarded it before. For should any men save the scholars learn of our secret, they would not understand it, nor would they believe us. They would see nothing save our crime of working alone, and they would destroy us and our light. We care not about our body, but our light is. So even though he wants to share his idea, he wants to protect them and protect the idea until he brings it forth to the council. So this invention is a part of him, and he's afraid something will happen before he can present it. He doesn't want other people in society to not understand it and to destroy it. Yes, we do care. For the first time, we do care about our body. For this wire is as a part of our body, as a vein torn from us glowing with our blood. Are we proud of this thread of metal, or of our hands which made it? Or is there a line to divide these two? We stretch out our arms. For the first time, do we know how strong our arms are? And a strange thought comes to us. We wonder, for the first time in our life, what we look like. Men never see their own faces and never ask their brothers about it, for it is evil to have concern for their own faces or bodies. But tonight, for a reason we cannot fathom, we wish it were possible to us to know the likeness of our own person. Sorry, I was mistaken before. He doesn't actually see himself, but he wonders about himself. So can you imagine never having seen yourself and not knowing what you look like? All right, most of us take for granted, and we look at ourselves every day. We look at ourselves in the mirror when we're getting ready in the morning, and people, make videos of themselves, and they take selfies, and, have pictures with their friends, and all of these things. But, we take that for granted. What would it be like for someone that does not get to see their face every day? That's something to think about. All right, where does your identity come from? Does it come from within, or does it come from the outside? When you have sight and you can see that, it comes from a little bit of both. But when you've never seen what you look like, it has to only come from inside. Chapter 6. We have not written for 30 days. For 30 days we have not been here in our tunnel. We had been caught. It happened on the night when we wrote last. We forgot that night to watch the sand in the glass which tells us when 3 hours have passed and it is time to return to the city theater. When we remembered it, the sand had run out. We hastened to the theater, but the big tent stood gray and silent against the sky. The streets of the city lay before us dark and empty. If we went back to hide in our tunnel, we would be found, and our light found with us. So we walked to the home of the street sweepers. When the council of the home questioned us, we looked upon the faces of the council, but there was no curiosity in those faces, and no anger, and no mercy. So, when the oldest of them asked us, "Where have you been?" we thought of our glass box and of our light, and we forgot all else, and we answered, "We will not tell you." The oldest did not question us further. They turned to the youngest and said, and their voice was bored, "Take our brother Equality 72521 to the Palace of Corrective Detention. Lash him until they tell." So we were taken to the stone room under the Palace of Corrective Detention. This room has no windows, and it is empty, save for an iron post. 2 men stood by the post, naked but for leather aprons and leather hoods. Over their faces, those who had brought us departed, leaving us to the 2 judges who stood in a corner of the room. The judges were small, thin men, gray and bent. They gave the signal to the 2 strong hooded ones. They tore the clothes from our body. They threw us down upon our knees, and they tied our hands to the iron post. The first blow of the lash felt as if our spine had been cut in 2. The second blow stopped the first, and for a second we felt nothing. Then the pain struck us in our throat, and fire ran in our lungs without air, but we did not cry out. The lash whistled like a singing wind. We tried to count the blows, but we lost count. We knew that the blows were falling upon our back, only we felt nothing upon our back any longer. A flaming grill kept dancing before our eyes, and we thought of nothing save that grill. A grill of red squares, and then we knew that we were looking at the squares of the iron grill in the door, and there were also the squares of the stone on the walls, and the squares which the lash was cutting upon our back, crossing and recrossing itself in our flesh. Then we saw a fist before us. It knocked our chin up, and we saw the red froth of our mouth on the withered fingers, and the judge asked, "Where have you been?" But we jerked our head away, hid our face upon our tied hands, and bit our lips. The lash whistled again. We wondered who was sprinkling burning coal dust on the floor, for we saw drops of red twinkling on the stones around us. Then we knew nothing, save two voices snarling steady, one after the other, even though we knew they were speaking many minutes apart. Where have you been? Where have you been? Where have you been? Where have you been? And our lips moved, but the sound trickled back into our throat, and the sound was only the light, light, light. Then we knew nothing. So this situation is very much like the scene in chapter 2 when the man is burned alive in front of the village for speaking the unspeakable word. Equality, he feels the pain, but he doesn't feel the pain. It's almost as if he's outside of his body while he's being whipped. He's focusing on the squares and the door and the drops of blood, but he's not really thinking. He's just trying to hold on long enough to protect his invention. We opened our eyes, lying on our stomach on the brick floor of a cell. We looked upon two hands lying far before us on the bricks, and we moved them, and we knew that they were our hands, but we could not move our body. Then we smiled, for we thought of the light, and that we had not betrayed it. We lay in our cell for many days. The door opened twice each day, once for the men who brought us bread and water, and once for the judges. Many judges came to our cell, first the humblest and then the most honored judges of the city. They stood before us in their white togas, and they asked, "Are you ready to speak?" But we shook our head, lying before them on the floor, and they departed. We counted each day and each night as it passed. Then tonight we knew that we must escape, for tomorrow the World Council of Scholars is to meet in our city. It was easy to escape from the Palace of Corrective Detention. The locks are old on the doors, and there are no guards about. There is no reason to have guards, for men have never defied the council so far as to escape from whatever place they were ordered to be. Our body is healthy, and strength returns to it speedily. We lunged against the door, and it gave way. We stole through the dark passages and through the dark streets and down into our tunnel. So he doesn't try to escape until he absolutely knows that he needs to, even though it's easy to do. All right, so he needs that reason to escape, because he even says there's no guards around because nobody has ever had a reason to escape before. The hold on the society to follow directions and to follow what authority tells you to do is so strong that none of them tries to leave. And the only reason Equality tries to leave, even though he's very capable of doing it up until this point, is because he has a stronger reason, which is to present his invention to the council. We lit the candle, and we saw that our place had not been found and nothing had been touched, and our glass box stood before us on the cold oven as we had left it. What matter they now, the scars upon our back? Tomorrow, in the full light of day, we shall take our box and leave our tunnel open and walk through the streets of the home of the scholars. We shall put before them the greatest gift ever offered to men. We shall tell them the truth. We shall hand to them as our confession these pages we have written. We shall join our hands to theirs, and we shall work together with the power of the sky for the glory of mankind. Our blessings upon you, our brothers. Tomorrow you will take us back into your fold, and we shall be an outcast no longer. Tomorrow we shall be one of you again. Tomorrow. So here's the idea where you stop and you think and make a prediction and see if it comes true when we read the next chapter. What do you think the council will think of this? Do you think that they will be lenient and they're not going to arrest him? Or do you think that they will not let this crime go? And think about how things will progress with Liberty and International and all the others in both situations. Because that's, really what's helping Equality get through a lot of this is some of the people in his life that, are inspiring to move forward. All right, so now you can finish your form. When you are done with that, you are done for the week until you have your remote lesson. And we will see you again when we do Chapter 7.